Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Tacho Show. So, we got the announcement today for the Hall of Forms in the bulletin board. So, this is the image they posted with all the units we're going to be getting here. So, we have the Ice Tribe Thea. Well, not really Ice Tribe. I guess it was more like an Ice Skater banner because they were all wearing ice skates. Alright, then we have, of course, Saint Elimine. We have the Harmonic Roy and Eliwood. And then we have Noah. So these are going to be our units. Are any of these guys worthwhile to pick up with a Form of Soul? I would say it really depends on what you're looking for. If you want to gamble, if you're a gambling dude, like in Pokemon, then you may want to go for Roy and Eliwood because they haven't refined yet, and there is a good chance that their refine is actually pretty good when you consider that they're effective against dragons and beasts, which is basically a majority of the armored save units right now. That could give them a little bit of an edge in melee matchups, and then also they just have access to a lot of good melee skills that we're going to see in a moment. So if you want to gamble, I would say them. If you just want something that's going to help you immediately, probably Thea, just for the fact that she gets air superiority and deadly miasma, just like the sickest combo, the biggest middle finger to the Korin ring in the game right now. So like that would be the immediate usability. And then Elimine, if you run her already for your core in Aether Raids, if you don't have her at plus 10, you can just get a free merge here to score a little bit higher and then also get better skills. So there's some merit to be had with the first three. Noah, I would say probably not though, unfortunately. But would I actually recommend you dropping a Form of Soul, though? Probably no. So let's go ahead and take a look at these units. We're going to start with Elimine here. So Saint Elimine. Now, obviously, you're going to want to run her refined weapon if you're going to run her at all. But if this is, of course, Hall of Forms, so you want to try to pick up as many skills as possible. Bouquet Baton is the next best thing you could go for. It gives a lot of support to your allies, so that's very good. Ice Lock should just go without saying. It kind of sucks that she can't get access to favor skills, because that would actually be really good for her as a support option for Aether Raid's offense. Just have her pop Ice Lock, which counts as a rally, and then you would go ahead and get buffs from favor, and things would be looking pretty good for your other units, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. These staffs can't get favor. So Call to Serve, I guess, is the next best thing. It's pretty similar. It's not like that different. You just pop your Ice Lock, which counts as a rally, and then you get some buffs, neutralize enemy bonuses, and then plus 5 true damage to your allies that have that status effect. And Deadly Miasma, the idea here is that you give her the Lin Ring, and then she already has Dazzling Staff. Glitter of Light inflicts flash on the target and foes in 2 spaces. So you wait for turn 2. You go ahead and pop the Lin Ring with her, have her attack from 5 spaces away. Whoever she hits, doesn't matter. She has Dazzling Staff, essentially. And then she'll reset tiles with Deadly Miasma, and if they're running the Korin ring, then you just give them the big middle finger right there. So that would be the idea with this build here, or just set of skills. Sway Attack gives her Wrathful Staff there when her main weapon has Dazzling Staff. All of the builds I'm going to show here, or skills I'm going to show here, include Dazzling Staff just to have the same tandem combo with her weapons, so any other skills you're going to go for are going to have Wrathful included. Okay, here is a build focused more so on Elimine's debuff potential. Of course, her main weapon has False Start, so that wants her to win res checks, and Crystalline Water is going to help her do that. Attack and Res Havoc is a pretty good debuff skill based on res, and it's also differentiated from her picking up Discord on her remix. So you just get a different option there for the debuffs. Havoc is a little bit better, at least in terms of combat, because it gives you a little more damage. But as far as like which debuffs are better, that's going to depend on what you're going for. And then Crux here just to, once again, support allies, give them some better in-combat potential there. Her main C skill is the most replaceable thing out of her kit. Her weapon is okay, especially considering it's got False Start. But, like, her C skill is mainly just for, like, bait units, and it gives them pierceable DR. She's like a... Remember when Flame first came out and she was giving, like, Drive DR, but it was pierceable? She's kind of like that a little bit. But Yeah, I would say you could certainly get rid of her C-skill for something better. Don't worry about it being unique or anything like that. She does miss out on getting Ploy Crux, though, which is a little bit of a bummer. Alright, and then for the next set of skills here, Magic Shield, we can go for that. And honestly, with this build, you would want to go for Nudge, actually, which is her default assist, because it's going to shove the enemies up one, and then you go ahead and rally, or you go ahead and Kanto, and then you can pop Shadow Smite. Very good for Aetheroid's offense just to get units in. And we're using Magic Shield here because, of course, this is Hall of Forms. You want to pick up all the new stuff, as opposed to just running Nudge, which she defaults with. Attack Speed Aria is another offensive option for her if you're going to attack. And then Speed and Res Shackle, another debuff option for her. Light's Restraint is kind of whatever. It's just like Witchy Wand, except in special form there. So, yeah, these are pretty much the skills I would go for. As for which one you may want to choose, it's completely up to you. Depends on how you want to play her. Alright, next up we have Roy and Eliwood here. So, they get the Arena Axe, which is a very good inheritable weapon. Inflicts speed and defense shackle on the enemies, and then it gives you, I believe it's 20% of your speed or defense, whichever is higher, as true damage. So, a very good weapon there for damage and support in terms of debuffing. Arc Rival goes without saying, and then Blue Skies, Assault Impetus, Attack Speed, Outcry Dull. Can't really get much better than that. There's a lot of variations of Outcry Dull, by the way. We got like 3 of them. We also have Bellow, and then we have the new one, Hone Assault, which is not available in Hall of Forms because it's a more recent skill. But Outcry Dull might still just be better than all the other 2, because I think this one gives you Nullify foe bonuses in combat, which is a very good effect. The other one, Bellow, I believe, gives you Special Cooldown Charge +1, and then Hone Assault gives you Piercing of enemies pierceable DR by half, which is, like, completely whatever. So Outcry Dull is probably the one that's going to matter the most. Assault Impetus is slightly better than Momentum. I mean, it depends. Momentum does a little more damage if you're moving more spaces, but you would have to move 5 spaces to get the most out of Momentum, which, unless you've got Gallop, is not really all that feasible. And then Assault Impetus, it doesn't matter how many spaces you move. As long as you initiate combat, you're getting a pretty substantial boost to your damage and the special ramp. So overall, Assault Impetus is better, but don't sweat it too much if you find Momentum and you're unable to find Assault Impetus. Alright, for these skills here, we got Gale Force Miss, pretty good. Just gives you Gale Force and then DR. Attack Speed Excel, which is the secondary option to Blue Skies. They're pretty similar. It's not like one is directly better than the other. Excel gives you more defense with the better non-pierceable DR, and then Blue Skies gives you built-in Kanto 2, which is nice if you're not running Sigurd Ring. And then it also gives you a little bit more damage. So they're both good in their own different ways. Potent Assault is the other option to Momentum or Assault Impetus. Gives you that extra attack, which could be pretty good, especially if they get a good refine and their weapon has dual effective on Dragon and Beast, and then they just get a free hit out of nowhere. And then if you're running the Erica Ring and then you hit an extra 2 times there from the Brave, so like, could be pretty crazy. Attack Speed Bellow, like we mentioned earlier, is the other option to Outcry Dull. And then finally over here, we have more of a supporty style of setup here. So Shadow Shift lets you rally or repo your allies in. You got a rally skill with attack speed favor to provide allies with better support, and then Slice with Sparrow is an option. I wouldn't really take it over the first 2 that we looked at, but it could be an option, like I said. And actually, you could also go for fortifications too if you just want to set up tiles and gain terrain superiority. So yeah, those are our builds here for Roy. Alright, next up we have Thea, who, like I mentioned, is, at face value, she's probably the best unit out of the batch, and this is the reason why. So air superiority just turns anyone into Baby Camilla in terms of movement. You just warp in regardless of, like, warp bubble or whatever. Vein tiles, who cares? You just warp in, you clap them. Air superiority has potent on top of that. Trample is giving you desperation, so you're free to run Erica Ring and then hit 5 times in a row. And then as soon as you're done attacking, Deadly Miasma resets terrain for your advantage. So yeah, just very, very good stuff here. Arch Rival is obvious. Arena Sword, just like we mentioned with Roy and Eliwood, Arena Axe, very good. Same thing with Arena Sword. Okay, over here we have the Serving Knife, which is another really good option for inheritable weapons. This one gives you an extra action after a rally or a movement assist, and then it also gives a little bit of support to your allies. So we combo that with Favor, and we're just getting support up the ass there. Favor gives Empathy, and then Serving Knife, I believe it gives +1 cooldown charge, and then it gives one other effect, but I don't remember exactly which one it was. So either way, it's still juicing up Empathy by giving you a bunch of status effects there. Hold Guide, obviously, if we're not going to run Air Superiority, it just gives us a lot of warping and ally support warping as well. And then we got Gale Force Mist and Blue Skies on this one just to wrap us up. All right, and then over here, once again, we're going for Arena Sword. This time you can go for Celestial Form, too. It's another pretty good special, but it's not quite commonly as seen as Arch Rival, because this one is flyer locked. But it is still pretty good, and it is a lower cooldown, so it's a little easier to get to. It's only a 3-hit cooldown, and then it gives you 60% of your speed potentially as true damage, and then 40% non-pierceable DR on the enemy's first attack. It's only once per combat, but if you have Fell Spirit or any other like shenanigans going on that lets you proc defensive specials more than once, you could get this multiple times off in a round of combat. And then Assault Impetus or Momentum, whichever, doesn't matter. They're both pretty good. And then Shadow Shift just to go ahead and get some repositioning antics in. You would want to give her the Sigurd Ring if you're running this build, and Canto 3 from the Sigurd Ring on melee units is just completely bananas. So, yeah, there you guys go for Thea. And then finally we have Noah, who is not really all that different from Eliwood and Roy. Most of the builds we're going to look at here are basically identical, just because they're melee calves and they have access to the same stuff. But this guy does have Johanna Lance, which has reflect damage, so it's a little more favorable to build this guy a little bulkier, so he has more of a chance of living. And then Fortifications is the perfect way to do that, right? Because we're getting terrain advantage, and then we're also getting, I think it's in combat defense and res up 6 if you initiate, and then it also gives you 10 flat DR on the enemy's specials. So it's essentially like a stone tile on the go, and then after combat you set up stone tiles. So it works out pretty good with Johanna Lance there. And then pretty much the exact same builds as we saw on Roy and Eliwood. There's not really much difference here. Like I said, they are both melee calves, so you're free to just go ahead and give them basically the same stuff, except the weapon is the only difference. Now, actually, Noah is surprisingly better than Roy, right now anyways, right? Because, like, he's a little bit more recent of a unit, so his stat line is a little bit better. I mean, we should show a build without fortifications here, because it is building his raw stats. So he's got significantly more attack. He's got 7 more points of attack. A little bit more defense, just 1 more. And a little bit more speed, 3 more. Roy wins on res, but that's like whatever. No one really cares about the res stat for a melee cav unit. So at face value, I would say Noah is probably better than Roy. But we know Roy is due for a refine at some point, and he's more likely to win the refine lottery being a harmonic hero than Noah is. So I would say if you want to gamble, go for Roy, but if you just want the better option right now, then probably Noah. So yeah, that's going to wrap us up for this round of Hall of Forms. Once again, I reiterate, I would probably not spend a Forma on any of these guys. But if you wanted to, then I would say priority is probably Thea. Followed up, if you want to gamble, by Roy. And then if you're running Elimine as your Aether Raids offense unit, then you just get a free merge for her along with some better skills. So yeah, there you guys go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And I will catch y'all again on the flip side.